So, Violent Night is an action comedy Christmas movie that just came out today. So, I was really excited for this movie. I went to the cinema, I had my hot chocolate with peppermint candy cane flavoring in it. I was all ready for a Christmas movie. And then, of course, there was this bunch of teenagers that came and sat in front of me, talking and on their phones the whole time. And this is literally like the fourth time this has happened to me at the cinema. And I went outside to complain, and I am not a confrontational person at all, but I went to complain because I was just sick of it. And, the kid working there was like, I can't really do anything. Really? You can't do anything? Like your job? Anyway, I just needed to rant about that quickly. I'm sure a lot of you can understand how frustrating it is because if you're watching this, you probably love movies like I do, and the movie going experience is starting to decline more and more because people don't want to go out to the cinema when they're getting this sort of behavior. Anyway, rant over. So I've always loved Christmas movies that are sort of a slash, like action slash horror sort of Christmas movies, like Die Hard, of course. Everybody knows about that. Then there's other lesser known ones like The Long Kiss Goodnight. There's Better Watch Out, Batman Returns. There's a lot of good ones, but, well, I shouldn't say a lot. Those are really the only four I can think of that aren't just like, straight up Christmas comedy, romantic sort of movies. So let me know down below if you can think of any others that I should check out. Anyway, so this is obviously a violent movie. It's right there in the title. But still, I felt like they could have held back a little bit on the gore because violence and gore do not need to always go hand in hand. And there was some times in the movie I'm just like, this feels excessive, like they're just doing it for shock value, and it's really not adding anything to the plot at all. And I'm absolutely fine with violent movies like John Wick, that's one of my favourite movies. But still, this felt like it was just a bit too excessive. So talking about John Wick, one of the guys from that movie, I think his name is Aurelio, played by John Leguizamo. I know I'm completely butchering that name, but he is the main villain in Violent Night. Look, I know the guy is a good actor. I've seen him recently in The Menu and some other movies, but this was a problem with the script. He just wasn't a very convincing villain. His motivation seemed a bit weak. He called himself Scrooge. And yeah, I get that this is a cheesy sort of campy Christmas movie, but still it felt like they could have made him a stronger villain. Then David Harbour from Stranger Things played Santa Claus, and he was amazing. He did a really good job in that role. So it was a very aesthetically pleasing movie. I loved the house that they shot in. It's like my dream house. It was all done up for Christmas really beautifully. And I liked that there was commentary on greed and how commercialized Christmas is getting. It fell flat in a few areas. So I will say one more thing that I liked. There were references to Home Alone in the movie, and they showed a few of the things that happen in Home Alone and the real life consequences, because it's something that's always been widely talked about, how the villains in Home Alone were perfectly fine at the end of the movie when they should have died like 20 times. Anyway, so this felt like a blend of Ready or Not meets Die Hard meets Home Alone, but it never really felt like it knew what it wanted to be. It sort of felt like it tonally went from one thing to the other a bit too much without just sticking to one thing. Like, decide, are you a horror? Are you an action? Are you a comedy? It went for around half an hour too long. I felt like it really needed to tighten the script up. And I would say the family drama was actually fairly interesting. There were this rich family that seemed to hate each other because they really didn't care who lived and who died. They only cared about money, and towards the end, they apparently became better people. I don't know. It didn't feel very convincing. We didn't really see the journey to when they started to care less about money and more about saving Santa. Like, I felt like we needed to spend more time with the family, getting to know them, getting to know Santa and his backstory, and tone down the action and violence a little bit. Like, I love action movies, like I said, but there needs to be a blend of action and of story and getting to know the characters and getting invested in them. And I just didn't really feel like I cared at all about any of these characters. I didn't care if they lived or died. They were really annoying. Santa was the only character in this movie that I really liked. So, yeah, I would say the script needed a lot of work. But look, it was still a fun movie, don't get me wrong. It was enjoyable. I wouldn't say that I would rewatch this movie, but I definitely do recommend you go and see it. Even in the cinema, I think you will have a good time. So I would give it a 7 out of 10. So anyway, if you would like to comment, subscribe, all of that stuff, that would be amazing. Thanks, guys.